Let's take a breath together. And fully arrive if we haven't already. So I want to start with a little joke. I'm not really sure how it fits in, but jokes fit in everywhere. So there was a little girl, 7-year-old, and she lost a tooth. And she said to her mom, "You know, Mommy, is there really a tooth fairy?" And the mom kind of thought about it for a while, and then she thought, well, she's 7 years old. Maybe she's asking. It's kind of time to, oops, I need to stand over here. It's kind of time to tell her the truth, you know? So she told her, "No, dear, actually, I am the tooth fairy, and I'm the one who gets the tooth from under your pillow and puts the money there or the treat there or whatever." So the little girl seemed to kind of take it in, and Mom thought, okay, that went well. And then a couple of moments later, the little girl said, "But Mommy, how do you get into the other children's houses?" So that's the beauty and the innocence and the free-spiritedness of children, right? And we all have that inside of us still. And I think during these times of uncertainty and challenge and change, it's so important to remember that our innate nature is that of freedom, of innocence, of joy, and that freedom isn't found out there. That, you know, Byron Katie says, freedom isn't a destination, it's a state of mind. It's a state of mind. And so that's what I just wanted to talk about today. How do we find freedom in the midst of an ever-changing world? And I know there are changes going on in the community. I know there have been deaths in this community. And so you're very much living all of that. And yet we can find beauty and equanimity and freedom and peace because we are born free. It's the inherent nature of who we are. And we can tap into that freedom no matter what is going on. And here's what Pema Chodron says. And really, the freedom we're talking about, before I do that reading, is, you know, the freedom of Nelson Mandela, who left, you know, Robin prison after being in there for 27 years with such graciousness and such a magnificent spirit, right? It's the freedom of Viktor Frankl that found beauty even in the concentration camps. It's the freedom of mind. And now I'll read. It's hard to know whether to laugh or to cry at the human predicament. Here we are with so much wisdom and tenderness, and without even knowing it, we cover it over to protect ourselves from insecurity. Although we have the potential to experience the freedom of a butterfly, we mysteriously prefer the small and fearful cocoon of our ego. And of course, this is not who we truly are. And the spiritual path is not about fixing ourselves or trying to improve ourselves, although there's a certain amount of that we all do, our inner work, our inner healing. But it's really the freedom of knowing, stopping, and remembering that freedom is not in efforting. It's in the stopping and remembering of who we truly are. No amount of trying to improve and fix ourselves and make ourselves perfect is ever going to be enough for the ego, for the small, limited self. You know, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, said, "There's nothing to be healed, only truth to be revealed." And that's what we're talking about here. just the revealing of truth within us, just to pause and take a breath, just to open the heart, just to say, right where I am, freedom is. Freedom is my innate and inherent birthright. And it doesn't come with the rearranging of circumstances. It's not a freedom that I'll be free when what I want to happen happens. I'll be free when no one gets ill, no one dies, I'm never in grief. I'll be free when there's no change in my life. It's found right in the midst of it all. And we have capacity to be grounded and to stand strong. And, you know, I'm reminded in this moment of the Navajos, you know, the ancient Navajos of the Northwest, who lived in such turbulent times, dealing with the hardships of the terrain that they lived in, and the fighting, you know, all the fighting with the different clans and different tribes. And they had a beauty prayer. And I'm doing the shortened version of it. But the prayer that they chanted, the prayer that they remembered said, you know, the beauty that I walk in, the beauty that I live by, and the beauty upon which I build my life. This is finding freedom, an inner response to a challenging, ever-changing world, sometimes filled with suffering. Beauty, coming back to that. That's that freedom of spirit. Because we know life is always changing. First law, things don't stay static and stuck. Again, Ernest Holmes says the universe, the nature never stays in one place for too long. It's always changing. The changing of the seasons in that beautiful poem or reading that Craig did. The cycles of the moon, the cycles of the stock market, the galaxies, the changing cycles. We live in an ever-changing world. Let's take a breath. This is from Helen Keller. I'm having a hard, okay. Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men, women, as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. A daring adventure. It's not much of an adventure if it just stays the same. You know, and Jack Kornfield said when he asked his teacher, Suzuki Roshi, you know, to sum up the Buddhist teachings, he summed it up in 3 words: things always changing. Things always changing. And so how do we find that inner security in an ever-changing world? Because we make our plans, do we not? And we all know that joke. How do we make God laugh? We tell her our plans. And there's a funny little story that Jack Kornfield tells of a man who gets a ticket in New York, goes to the subway and gets a ticket, and he says, I want to go to Fordham. And the guy says, well, the conductor or whoever it is says, well, it's Sunday. The train doesn't stop at Fordham on Sunday. But I tell you what I'll do. You know what you can do. The train kind of slows down as it comes into Fordham Station, and I'll open the doors, and you can kind of get out, but kind of keep running a little bit because the train will keep going. So it's cool, right? So the train gets to Fordham, and the guy starts to jump out, and a conductor comes running along and grabs him by the arm and pulls him back in. And he said, "Oh, you're so lucky I saw you. The train doesn't stop at Fordham on Sunday," right? So we make our plans. We think things are going to look a certain way, and often they don't. And what helps us in finding that true freedom is a divine trusting. Comes with trust, this freedom. A trust and a faith of spirit that says life is always changing and it's always unfolding, and it's unfolding for our greatest and highest good. That there's a purpose behind it. Whether we can see it or know it or not, there's something grander calling us. And sometimes, because we seek security in a changing world, there can be a tendency, I can own that, to holding on too long. Ever done that? And then the universe says, "All right, you held on a little too long here." Maybe your inner intuition. I had that experience myself, and I was minister of the Santa Cruz CSL for several years, and I had been feeling like it was time to move on. And I was scared, quite honestly, like I didn't want to let it go for whatever reason, many reasons. And then things blew up, not in an absolutely wonderful way, not in the way I would have scripted it. And it was time to let go. And that was a painful and challenging time. And I had to really listen in to the wisdom within me about when to pick up ministry again, so to speak. There was a lull, a little bit of a settling in. And there's a teaching around this that you may have heard. A nun who was in a monastery, and she really desperately wanted to become enlightened. And she just couldn't, and she was suffering. So she told her master, "I'm going to go up to the mountaintop in China and sit in a hut until I become enlightened, or until I die, one or the other." So he said to her, "Okay, off you go." So off she went, and walking up the hill in China, up the mountain, she sees this man coming towards her carrying a big bundle on his back, and he's walking down the mountain. And it is said in Buddhist mythology that he's Manchushri. Thanks for the nod, Andrea. It's a hard word to get out. The Buddha that appears to people when they're ready to be enlightened. And so he says, "Oh, hey, nun, how you do? Where are you off to?" And so she tells him her whole story. "I'm going to be enlightened. I'm suffering because I'm not." And he listens so intently and so wisely, and he's so present with her that she feels compelled to ask him. And she says to him, "Do you know about enlightenment? Do you know what enlightenment is?" And he just drops the bundle he's carrying to the ground. Lets go of it. And she's ecstatic. She gets it. She's like, "Oh, I get it. This is wonderful. Enlightenment is just letting go, just about letting go." And she's happy and smiling, and then she kind of pauses for a few moments, and then she says, "And then what? And then what?" And he just smiles at her, and he picks up the bundle, puts it back on his back, and keeps on walking. The wisdom, the freedom to know when to let things go and when to pick things back up again. That lives in us, that knowing. And that's true freedom. That's true freedom. Being able to let go, being able to pick back up. And when we're in that state of moving with the flow of life, so to speak, we're in our true divine nature. We're in that place of open-heartedness where we can respond, but we respond from a place of love. Because it's not just passive acceptance. You know, sometimes we think acceptance is just giving up almost. All right, nothing I can do except accept what is. It's a first step, is accepting, because that changes the frequency of our consciousness. When we're at war with something, whether it's within our own being, within the world, within our community, within what's going on in the circumstances of our life, within our body, within our mind, whatever it may be, we're not dialed in to our highest true self. There's a clenching and there's a constricting. The moment we accept, and we know acceptance is a stage of grief, right? And it doesn't take away the sadness. It doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't take away the feelings. It's not meant to. But it's a freeing up the moment we accept what is. We're in oneness with life. And our heart opens. And we're able to then take action if and when we're called to take action. We respond rather than react. We respond. All right, I accept this is happening. Let's just take our current state of affairs in the world. Accepting doesn't mean we like it. Doesn't mean we agree. Doesn't mean it doesn't feel awful. But that first step is gracious. It creates freedom in our being and in our consciousness. And then we can say, and what's mine to do? How do I move my feet? How do I tend to the hungry, the sick, the poor? What is mine? How do I contribute, or whatever? We move with that. Okay, where am I? We need change. We need it. We're wired for it. It's part of the ebb and flow of life. And yet, naturally, we seek security. And how do we live with the paradox of that? That really being human almost, we need things almost to be the same. That we feel secure when things are the same. And insecure when the world is changing, especially when we're not making those changes. It feels like they're being made for us. And we're called to live with the paradox of being this luminosity and this freedom and this love and this expansiveness of spirit and our very human selves. Our very human selves. You know, I heard someone say, you know, we're called to remember the luminosity of our true divine nature and to remember our social security number. That's it, right? And so we can live with both. Oscar Wilde says it's to live with the tainted glory of humility. To live with the tainted glory of humility. And there are two kinds of suffering. And one is the suffering that we turn away from and we don't want to face and we don't want to look at. And that's the kind that follows us everywhere. You know, what we resist persists. It's true that it lies in there. And the other kind of suffering is the kind that we have the courage and the strength to face, to turn toward, to tend to be with, to honor. Because freedom isn't about never having any feelings about anything. Freedom is the willingness to feel what's arising and let it move like a river through us, always moving. You know, the Buddha talks about the 5 rivers of change, the river of feelings, always changing through us, the river of thoughts, our thoughts, we know that, all over the place, always changing. Our form, the physical, the body, always changing, always. The aging of the body, growing of the hair, the fingernails, the cells that are constantly changing in our body, not to mention we've talked about the world of affairs, the circumstances always changing. Our perceptions change. As we evolve and grow, we start to maybe see things differently. Our consciousness continues to change too. It expands. What we held tight to maybe 10 years ago, maybe we don't hold so tight to. The rivers of changes are always having their way. And so, you know, I listened to Reverend Guy's talk last week, and, you know, he made mention of that, my favorite expression, what's in the way is the way, or one of mine, right? The obstacle is the way. And sometimes change can look like an obstacle, and change is always the way, because this is a universe, a spirit, a quantum field for good, and it's always evolving. That's why nothing is static, and that's why nothing stays the same, because its impulse, its urge, is to keep evolving and changing, and we are one with it. Again, that paradox, this human part that really just would like things to stay the way they are, please. But that spirit within us also has that impulse, that desire to keep changing. And it's safe to change, and we're supported on our journey. And to see, I think, the freedom of the Navajos, we get to practice, seeing the sacredness and the beauty and the love in life that never changes. There's freedom in that to hang on to place our attention on that which never changes in an ever-changing world. When we lose a loved one, there's grief and there's sorrow. And what never changes is the love we experience and continue to experience with that person. Our love for whomever we're grieving doesn't go away just because they're not here anymore. The same with people who have come and gone in our life. The love is constant. We can always see the beauty in life. Right now, the beauty in the wildflowers on the bowl, the beauty of each of you that I'm looking out at, the beauty of spiritual community coming together, hanging tight. Yes, there's change. And here we are in beloved community, singing our song, speaking our truth, praying together, being together. We keep on keeping on. Let's breathe. This is from Clarissa Piccola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. In fairy tales and myths, deities and other great spirits test the hearts of humans by showing up in various forms that disguise their divinity. They show up in robes and rags, silver sashes, and with muddy feet. They show up in scales made of rose petals, as a lime yellow old woman, as a man who cannot speak, or an animal who can. And the great powers are testing to see if humans have yet learned to recognize the sacred spirit in all its various forms. Can we see that? Our task is to see the beauty and the sacredness in it all, no matter how it feels and no matter how upside down we feel we are being turned. Gregory Boyle, who wrote Tattoos of the Heart and founded Homeboy Industries in East LA, was some of the most hardened gang members there, reformed gang members there. And part of the purpose and the vision statement of that is to see that which is beautiful in each of them, that maybe no one has ever given voice to, and to say it out loud. And he said he has borne witness to the toughest looking kind of gang member, ex-gang member, be brought to tears because they've never heard anyone acknowledge the beauty within them. They've never heard anyone give voice to it and say it out loud. And that's part of the creed of Homeboy Industries, is that beauty is seen in everyone, no exceptions. And that's like a new paradigm. That's the beginning of rehabilitation, to start by seeing the beauty. So it's uncertain. And we relax in the river of life. We carry down the stream. And sometimes we get caught in whirlpools along the way. Sometimes we are the whirlpool. We are it. And yet we look around and we see it's all the same river. It's all the same water. The water of life, the water of love, the water of spirit, connecting us all. And freedom is knowing that we are here by divine appointment. And freedom is saying, okay, all right, I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the ride, for the roller coaster, for the grief and the sorrow and the joy and the excitement. I'm here for the praise and the blame. I'm here for it all. I'm showing up. And I'm recognizing the oneness that we are with each other and with all of life. And like I said, we hold tight to that which never changes. And we're living in a mystery. Spirit is the great mystery. Rest in that, because we have faith and trust, and we're hardwired for freedom. It's our birthright. So let us pray. Let us breathe in. Let's take 3 deep cleansing breaths together, if you would. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but just feeling like some energy in the room could be. Let's breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Thank you. The freedom of the breath. The one breath, the one life, the one power, the one presence. The sweet, tender beauty of spirit shining forth back of all of creation. That freedom that lives and moves and has its being through and as me, and through and as each and every one of us, and through and as all sentient beings everywhere. We are born free. We are the freedom that God is. Spirit is alive in every single one of us. So what I am knowing is, no matter what the winds of change are bringing our way, no matter what maybe the disappointments or the excitements, no matter what's leaving or who's coming or what's going, no matter what is changing, we find ourselves grounded and rooted in the freedom of our divine nature. We find our freedom through remembering who we are. We find our freedom by moving into accepting what is. Accepting what is. And from that place, we listen deeply, and we are fueled with the courage to flow with the changes, and we are fueled with the energy and the wisdom that maybe calls us to act in a certain way, to let something go, to pick something up, or maybe calls us just to be still. But in that acceptance, wisdom makes itself known. I am knowing that this beautiful practice of seeing the sacredness and the beauty in life, even amidst that which may seem ugly, that we find, that we place our attention on that more and more, because energy flows where our attention goes. And so the more we focus on what is staying the same, the love, the beauty, the sacredness, the more our energy flows there and opens into that. And the more secure and grounded we are. And I'm grateful, because what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that is that in spirit we are grounded, we are protected, we are safe, we are loved, we're supported, and we're divinely held in a beautiful tenderness right now. And Reverend Guy talked about angels as messengers and many things, and yes, the angels, and yes, the ancestors, and yes, the higher divine beings and the souls on the other side. They're here. We're not alone on this journey, and we're in the river together. We're in our oneness through it all. So I give thanks for knowing that everything is unfolding within our world, within our communities, within our families, within our own being, in divine right order. We may not always quite be able to see the outcome, and that there's a faith and a trust in divine right outcome. And that freedom is knowing that it's unfolding for the greatest and highest good of all. And freedom is allowing ourselves to feel and tend to that which needs to be felt and tended to. And freedom is rising up again and again and again into the power, into the glory, into the magnificence of spirit we're born to be. So I give thanks for the beauty. I give thanks for the love. I give thanks for the sacredness, that which never changes. I release my word and all of our highest intentions to the very soul of the universe, letting it rest now and letting it be. And so it is.